Hello, and welcome to this presentation on running and modifying electronic inventory analyses. During this presentation, we're going to take a look at 3 different analyses that relate to electronic inventory and 3 of the 4 that are actually provided in the out-of-the-box grouping. I'm Connie Brown, and I'll be taking you through these different analyses. So to begin with, let's take a look at the portfolio list and make some changes to it. Startup Analytics to begin. Getting signed in. And navigating to the catalog, where we're going to take a look at the electronic inventory reports. So to begin with, going to the portfolio list. I'm just going to go ahead and edit it, which means, of course, that it's going to run. And we get the initial display of this particular report. So in the compound layout page, what we're seeing, of course, is public name, the relevant portfolio ID, and the title of the portfolios. So in order to make some of these types of changes, I'm going to return to the Criteria tab and just take a look at the sorts of things that we, in fact, have in place. So we can see that we've got 3 columns of data showing up: public name, portfolio ID, and title. The public name, of course, coming from the package sub-area, the portfolio ID from the portfolio sub-area, and title from the bibliographic details area. Now, because I am working in this analysis with the intention of making a change to its information, I'm going to use the Save As feature so that I can then save this particular analysis locally, or essentially in my area. Perhaps it would be my folders, just different places where I can be putting this information. So I'm going to save this to the reports area. I'm going to now call it Portfolio List in ascending order with vendor name and service type. Okay, so we've got that part of things looked after. I can, of course, be including a description in this case, modifying out of the box report to change organization and include vendor and service type details. You'll find that including that descriptive information is helpful in that it can be more specific and precise about what a particular analysis is intended to do. So saving it there, and we'll now see, of course, that it has the new name that I just gave to it. And we can proceed with making our modifications. So the very first modification I want to make in this case is to sort the list in ascending order by title. So I'll go to the menu that relates to the column of data and select the Sort option, and there just simply say Sort Ascending. And you'll see, as a result of having made that change, that the up arrow is now indicating that we have a sort applied in this particular area. Let's go and take a look at the results, and you'll see that indeed the order in which the results display has changed. So we're getting different, a different structure already. So that's the very first change I wanted to make. Then I want to go back to the Criteria tab, and from the vendor interface sub-area, I'm going to select the vendor name. So scrolling down just briefly and a double click to add that in. And so now that we've got this part of things in place, let's go ahead and take a look at these results. And let's say that I really wanted to actually see the vendor name in a different position. And So, in fact, I want it to be here in the leftmost position. So I'm going to go ahead and modify the layout or edit the view, as you can see described there. So with that in place, I'm going to, we can see that the layout pane has opened, and that in the columns and measures area, vendor name, simply because it was added in that rightmost position and added last, is sitting in that last area. So instead, I want to just pick it up, and as long as I have that four-headed arrow and I'm able to see that vertical blue bar, I can drop that file right there. So that now is giving me that vendor information displaying here in the leftmost position. I'll click on the Done button in order to indicate, yes, that's what I intended to do. And let's go ahead and save those changes. The very last thing I'm going to do, and this time I'll show it to you staying in the Results tab, is going to the Service Type area and adding from here the description of this particular grouping. And so what this is telling us then is that we have these portfolio IDs that represent these titles and what sort of service is available. So we're seeing we have full text, we have selected full text showing. If we go on to the next page, we're able to see again that we have full text. If I should happen to expand the view to 500, we get to see more and more of these things. Occasionally we're seeing a vendor and a public name for the particular resources in question. And there again, getting those sorts of details in place. So having made that change, I now have made my modifications according to what I was desiring. There are, of course, many, many other options that we could be including as well. Okay, so going from there to a second analysis in this area, and that's to work with the top 10 classifications where Library of Congress is the call number type. So again, returning to the catalog, and before I do that, just one final save. Go to the catalog, and we'll be taking a look at the e-inventory reports here, and this time picking the top 10 classifications for LC. Go into Edit once again. And in this particular case, you can see that we have this lovely graph that appears that tells us essentially where the greatest number of electronic resources reside. And perhaps rather than actually wanting to see this graph, I want to see the numbers. I want to see the actual numbers. Now I can simply by placing my mouse pointer over top of each of the graph columns that appear, I can get those. However, I want to do this a little bit differently, and in this particular case, I want to add another view for a table. So going with this, and you'll see then that not only do we have the graph that shows this information, but down below we have a table that shows the classification area and then the number of portfolios that's associated with each one of those in no particular order, except it looks more or less like it could be the LC classifications are in alphabetical order. So other things that I might want to do, rather than, as I said, rather than seeing just 10, is I might want to expand that number to 20. And so in this particular case, returning to the Criteria tab, because this is the place where I need to work on this, we're able to see in the Filters area that we have the number of portfolio is set to being in the top 10. Well, let's go ahead and make a modification to that. And so just by having clicked on the Edit Filter icon, I'm taken to the Edit Filter window, and it's here that we see that the value is 10. So I'm going to go ahead and just increase that to 20 and click on OK. Before I return to looking at the results, one other thing to point out here is that the Group 1, in this particular case, relates to the nature of the LT classifications that are being viewed. And so just so that we can take a look at what this is, we have a long list of these classifications, and what we're trying to do here is just by saying the unknown filter is we're excluding it, that we're actually getting only those things where we have an LC classification that's associated with it. So won't be making any changes there. Now let's go ahead and view the results. So you can see that we still have our top 10 classifications showing up there, and what I've done then is, of course, added in the remaining, or another 20. So our very first thing to do here is a Save As, and say that rather than it's the top 10, it's going to be top 20. And again, I'll save this to the Reports area, and we'll go with changed top 10 to top 20, and added a table view. So we click on OK, and again we have our list of things. It's now the title is now accurate, and it's giving us just another way to be changing the type of information that we're seeing. And finally, our third analysis in this respect is going to be to work on the packages where we're drilling down to the portfolio level, and from there wanting to, rather than seeing all of the packages, showing only those with an activation date. So go ahead and do one final save and return to the catalog. And again to e-inventory and reports. And so this time taking a look at the very first entry here, packages, drill down to portfolio, and we'll go ahead and edit. And so we're seeing in our list that we have a number of things where there's no public name, but then, of course, others that are in place, the package ID, who is the creator of the package, and then, of course, in this final column, the activation date, where we have a number of things where there just really isn't information. So in other words, the portfolio itself or package has not, in fact, been activated. So in order to make that kind of modification, again, back to the Criteria tab. And in this case, I'm going to filter on the activation date. We can see that there are no filters present. And we'll go ahead and filter on the activation date. And in this case, I want to just basically say is null, or is not null, really is the answer. So in other words, that there is an activation date present. So I could just as easily, of course, go with is null in order to gather together a collection of things where we have not completed the activation process. So that would be a valuable entry as well. Let's just go ahead and do a save. And again, to the ports area with activation date modified to include only those titles with an activation date. And so we've made that change. We now have a new title that's associated with our analysis. We click on the Results tab, and you can see that the list is quite a lot smaller than it was before, and we're now not seeing any entries where there is no activation date present. And so that's giving us another way to view this sort of thing. So just to follow up on that, if I wanted to take the next step, which would be show me everything where we don't have an activation date present, I'm going to return to the Criteria tab. And let's just go ahead and do a Save As, and in this case, without activation date. To identify portfolios without an activation date. So in doing this kind of thing, of course, then being able to essentially get a project for somebody. And so in this case, is null, and click on OK. We'll save that one more time, and click on the Results tab. And so that changes up what we're seeing, and then the whole grouping now of things where we don't have portfolios activated. And so lots of examples for us to be working with, and then correcting and making sure that they do indeed get activated. So that concludes these examples here related to working with the out-of-the-box reports that are available for electronic inventory.